to what Alex said, if you bang glasses loudly or which comes up on the screen, so that if someone else is speaking, that's kind of a tiny bit disruptive. Anyway, we're now up and we're live, and my job is really to coordinate things. There's quite a few of us, which is awesome, and we've got 6 really interesting wines. And so the goal really is to taste the wines and share our impressions as we taste them. And I'll give a small introduction at the beginning, just highlighting the Rhone Valley and putting these wines in their place. And really, the process will be let's all stick in, say what we think about each wine, and we'll move through the wines 1 to 6. And hopefully, it'll be interesting and entertaining. Before we begin, I thought it'd be really good. I don't think we've all met before. To just give us a brief introduction about who we are. And I'll go through the names on the list, and one by one, if you just say who you are. I should introduce myself first, though. I'm Jamie Good. I'm a wine writer. I'm an ex-scientist. I kind of made my way into wine through the internet, through the early days of the internet, my website, wineandwrite.com. Now I've kicked the day job for the last 6 years. I've been a freelance wine writer. And I'm just massively enthusiastic about wine. I love it. It's fun. And really, I'm being paid to do my hobby now, which is awesome. And that's really all through the internet. So I love the idea of these hangouts, because the idea of meeting people, chatting about wine together in this sort of format, I think is fabulous. So that's who I am. So we've got Alan.
Hi, welcome from Cornwall, Budapedia's hub of a wine connoisseurship, if I can put it that way. I wish I was paid too, but it's a labour of love down here. And I'm really looking forward to trying these 6 Rhones tonight, because even just pouring them in the glass, I could tell that there's something special going on with some of them. So welcome, and it's nice to meet you all.
Excellent. Have we got Charlie?
You have. Hello from Manchester. I'm a blogger. I mostly specialise really in spirits, but I like my wines as well. It's all about tasting after all, and I'm very intrigued because I don't actually know a lot about Côtes du Rhône wines, so this is going to be an interesting one. Looking forward to it.
And what's the name of the cat in the background?
That one is, her full name is Jezebel, but she's known usually as Jelly Belly, or Belly, and the other one who's running around is Boudica, who is also known as Boo Boo.
Very good. Anyone else got any pets in the background? No?
Got a dog.
A dog. We'll do a dog some stage, Hannah. Denise, are you around?
Sorry?
Did you say Peter?
No, it's a Denise.
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm the wine sleuth. I'm actually at the moment living in Champagne. It's a tough life, but I usually blog about wine in general. And I do know a bit about the Côtes du Rhône, but I'm really looking forward to trying these wines.
Helena.
Hi, I'm Helena, otherwise known as the Wine Bird. I'm generally a wine educator, presenter. I'm all about trying to get consumers at the beginning of their wine journey into wine, trying to bridge the gap between decanter and normal people, basically. Making wine visual and things, and so it'd be nice to think about these wines in terms of personalities and how we can maybe get that across to people who aren't tasting them with us, maybe.
Excellent. Jack.
Hey, is my mic working?
Yes.
Splendid. Okay. My name is Jack. I am the co-founder of Tasting Britain. I'm an expert only in eating and drinking things, and I don't know much about Côtes du Rhône, so looking forward to learning some stuff and yeah, just trying some wines, I guess. Thank you for inviting me.
Pete.
Pete?
Yes, Pete.
Hello, I'm Pete. This feels a bit like Eurovision. Bringing you the votes from the Leighton Buzzard panel. I'm a freelance food and drink. I write on my website, thedrinker.co.uk, and I judge a bit as well for IWSC and IWC. And again, I'm a Côtes du Rhône non-believer, so this is why I'm here tonight.
Excellent. And we have Chin.
Hi.
Yeah, hi there.
Hello. Apparently not. Hello.
Yes. I can see you. There's three of you.
Yeah, there's three of us. Okay, you can hear us. Sorry, it's just coming up as everybody else but us, so I wasn't sure if you could hear us. So I'm a freelance journalist writing about food and wine and travel. I have a wine blog called Amateur Wine, and yeah, not very familiar with Côtes du Rhône, so looking forward to learning more.
Excellent. And Sophie?
Hello everyone, I'm Sophie. I have three passions in life: wine, travel and writing. I have my own blog called champagneonthebrain.com, and
Yay.
I contribute to thank you. Contribute to another number of other publications on and offline. And my day job is working for a wine importer, Bancroft Wines. So I know the Clos de Cailloux fairly well, but I'm looking forward to trying the other ones. So.
And finally, we've got a team. Tim and Mike and Ant. Are you around?
Hey guys, you alright? Yeah, we're actually one down tonight because Ant swears he's got man flu. So you know, half of us on this call knows exactly how bad he's feeling right now, I guess. But I'm Mike. I run a blog called Please Bring Me My Wine. I have no idea what I do actually. I just kind of I suppose like everybody else on this call, just enjoy drinking wine, and I'm meeting lots of people because of it. So really looking forward to this call. My day job, I'm a Bordeaux wine broker now, and I know I'm probably in the same boat as a lot. I know a little bit about the Côtes du Rhône, but just loving to know more. So looking forward to it.
Hey there everyone, my name's Tim Milford. By day I'm a project manager, but by night I write about wine and food, principally for my site, which is timmilford.com, but also for Vinspire, which a few more of you may have heard of. And yeah, love the Rhône in general. I'm keen to find a little bit more about Côtes du Rhône, to be honest, today. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Excellent. So we've got a full house, and everyone's Google Plus is working, and everyone's microphone's working. This is a miracle, I think. It's the first.
Yeah, it is.
Google Plus Hangout with no technical issues so far. Yeah, I think one of the interesting things about this is that we've got a range of different backgrounds, and so I wanted to say something briefly about the language of wine, the way we describe wine, because I think this is going to be very interesting to see the sorts of ways that people describe the wines that we're tasting this evening. I think your vocabulary for wine differs massively according to how much you've learned about wine and where you've learned about wine. And I think sometimes it's almost like a code language, and that it doesn't actually refer to anything in reality. It's just something, it's words we've picked up and we've learned to associate with wine, which is why sometimes tasting medicine can be a bit archaic. So I think Helena mentioned sort of a creative sort of way of describing wines, likening them to people, which I think is a really cool idea. I think it's good to stop to describe wines in ways like this, in trying to be really creative in the way that we describe these wines. As you taste them, please do feel free to come up with lots of unusual and very imaginative descriptors for the wines, rather than just a list of ingredients. I mean, it's good to have the ingredient list. That's how we learn to taste about wine. But I think it would be really cool also to have more creative ways of describing these wines. You capture the wines better. And I want to begin with a little introduction on the Rhône Valley. And I've got a map I wanted to share because I think it's good to put things in context of place. So is it possible that we can have the map up?
I wish I had some blue back.
Can you see the map now?
What?
I see a map.
That's it.
So we have here we have a map of the Rhone Valley. So we're starting up at the top there in the north of the Rhone, starting up with Vienne. From Vienne down to Avignon is about 200 kilometres, and the region threads down along the river. And what you can see from that map straight away is the northern Rhone, the top, Fournon and Saint-Heritage, is kind of pretty close to the river. This is kind of quite steep vineyards and then flatter vineyards, but they're quite close to the river, and you see there's not a lot of them. And this is Syrah country. The red grape here is Syrah, and we're going to be testing one wine from the northern grape, which is the fourth wine, the Georges Vernet, Saint-Agathe, and that's going to be a pure Syrah from the northern Rhone. But the majority of the wines from the Rhone come from the bit at the bottom, the southern Rhone, and you'll see there's just much larger spread of vineyards there. And really, Grenache is the key red wine here. This is red wine country. Côtes du Rhône is red wine. 88% of the Rhône produced is red, and 7% of it's rosé, and just 5% is white wine. And so the big difference between the south and the north is well, first of all, the climate's a bit cooler in the north, but also the main grape varieties. So the north is pretty much monovarietal Syrah, sometimes with a little bit of Viognier blended as well. And the south is blends. Blends is the key there, with Grenache dominant. Grenache has to be about 40% of the wines. And the warmer climates there, and the idea of blending the grapes together produces wines that are a little bit different. So all but one of these wines is going to be blend, and most of them are Grenache dominant. And so this is a really important region for France. So it's the second largest quality wine region in France, the Rhone, and there are 40,000 hectares of vineyards. That's a lot. So a hectare is a bit more than a football pitch, and there are 40,000 of those in terms of vineyards there. So it's a really significant region. And the UK is the #1 export region for Côtes du Rhône wines. So 20% of the Côtes du Rhône wines are exported and find their way over here. So we like them. We like them quite a lot. And the good news is, I think that the quality is really high. And certainly in the southern Rhone, the wines don't have to be all that expensive to be good. So I think we should start off with the first wine.
Yes.
So just this is Le Chasse, the Rhone Reserve, from a merchant called Gabriel Meff. And it's the only wine in this lineup that's not 2012 vintage. This one is actually 2013. And this is an inexpensive wine. I think we've got the price and the producer here. This is the cheapest wine in the lineup. We're sort of going up in the 6 wines up in price with each bottle a little bit. So this is £6 from Sainsbury's. And it's a blend. And I think I've got the varietal breakdown here. No, I don't. It's going to be a blend with Grenache dominance, Syrah, and a range of other varieties. So let's taste. We're playing some tasting noises. So folks, share your impressions, one at a time of course. Who's going to pipe up first?
If we've not made a Côtes du Rhône wine, I think this is very positively ripe and juicy as soon as you smell it, and quite often they can seem a little bit metallic and a little bit austere, but this is immediately quite approachable, which is a pleasant surprise, perhaps.
It's got quite nice full body, and it's got quite prominent oak for me. which I wasn't really expecting. But it's well balanced. It's well integrated. Some nice sort of vanilla-y kind of, I want to say, coconutty notes.
That's interesting. For me, I think this wine is really quite light for a Côtes du Rhône. I don't think there's a whole lot going on in there. It's agreeable, but it's nothing, nothing to write home about, so to speak. For me, anyway.
I think for I'll go on. I was just going to say, I think for me that the in the finish right at the end, I think a little bit on the soily side. I think I agree in terms. I think it's a slightly lighter one. I like the smell. I like the taste. There's nothing wrong with them at all. But maybe in the finish, just a little bit on the soily side. But it's nitpicking that, if I'm honest. But
what I like about it, it seems to be quite a good. I know it's a blend, but it's Grenache dominant. It gives quite a good example of Grenache from this region, which is what I quite like about it. If you agree, quite sort of strawberry, figgy strawberry, but juicy. Do you think so?
Yeah.
So if you want to know what Grenache is, what Grenache tastes like, or what Grenache tastes like from this part of the world, I think it's a good starting point.
I think that's a really good point, Helena. I think this is, if you got this from Australia, so the Barossa Valley, for instance, and it was £12 a bottle, I think this was a pretty good wine. I think that the fact that the Côtes du Rhône can do this for £6 is brilliant, because it's got this nice, it's lighter bodied. It's got some sort of strawberry and cherry fruit, I find, with a bit of peppery, earthy, spicy, savoury bite to it. It's a very drinkable wine. It's not a wine that you'd swoon over, I don't think. I think it just delivers an honest experience of Côtes du Rhône. This is just great typicity, I think. And to do that at £6, I think it's really cool. That you can go into a supermarket and buy a wine for £6. It's not trying to be something it's not. It delivers pleasure. It delivers a sort of food-compatible experience. And this is sort of wine that you could, well, basically, in a very long-winded way of saying, I think it over-delivers for the price. It's not the world's greatest wine, but I think it's pretty solid.
Yeah, I agree with that, Jamie. I think that you've got to look at it in terms of its price, and that this price is absolutely fine as a day-to-day wine. It does. I also agree. It relies rather heavily on the oak for its flavour, and that sort of makes up a bit for the lack of complexity in the fruit in the middle. But it's got quite a strident acidity as well. But it's at the price. Yeah, fine.
I think you also made a great. Oh, go on. Sorry.
Oh, no, I was just saying, I noticed the acidity as well. There is quite a bit in there. But yeah, I think for an everyday, wine that you're just going to, drop into Sainsbury's and get for $6.99, I think it's okay. It's good.
I think, going back to something you mentioned there, Jamie, as well about the food compatibility, is the fact you can just imagine sitting here with a little plate of salami or something like that and enjoying that without really having to think too hard about it, and just having a nice afternoon on that, really.
In a glass tumbler or something.
Absolutely, yeah. Out with a picnic, exactly,
I think it's an afternoon wine.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Rather than one. Yeah. Fair enough.
Well, it's a warm-up wine, I think, maybe for something more complex. Perfect as the first one.
Yeah. Right, what are we saying for number 2? What is it? I need to go and pull it.
Right, so we're moving on. So the second one, we're moving up a little bit in price. We're at tenner here from Majestic. And this is the Côtes du Rhône from De La Fraise, which is a negociant. Got quite a good reputation now. They've improved a lot in the last decade. And this is history. And it's 2012 vintage. And the sheet here tells me that this is interesting. This is a majority of Syrah. So it's a Côtes du Rhône, so it's got Grenache in it, but the majority of this wine is Syrah, which is unusual for Côtes du Rhône reds. And so let's see what it's like.
Was the last one 100% Syrah? I missed it. Sorry, I timed out on you guys.
The Chateau du Pape was a blend, majority Grenache with a bit of Syrah in there as well.
Ooh. I think this one definitely has a lot more going on, especially on the nose. It's got a bit more smokiness to it, a little bit of minerality. There's still some fruit in there as well. I like this one. It's more substantial. It's more, more what I think a Côtes du Rhône wine is, or should be.
I think the other thing is like what they say about the first taste being with the eye, don't they? And I just think, it looks just a beautiful. I know it sounds a bit twee when I say it, but it just looks like a lovely wine. It just sitting in the glass, It sounds a bit twee, that I know, but I just can't. It might be because I need to sit the glasses back on. You never know, but
it's got some nice tannins going on there. I think coats your mouth quite well. Texture's quite nice.
Super soft tannins, which is really nice in this wine. It's got a lower acidity. It's a bit sort of darker in its complexion. I guess that's the Syrah, and mine's a little bit yeasty. It's quite a sort of syrupy texture in the mouth as well, by comparison.
Certainly move to darker fruits here, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's more. I'm getting more towards the sort of Shiraz, if you like, certainly from the first wine, and it's got a little bit of like violet floral notes on the nose, which is quite pleasing. It's much more the Shiraz towards Shiraz than Syrah, if that makes sense.
Spice on the end, I think, doesn't it? That's your tongue tingling.
I think this is. I really like this. This is kind of. I think someone mentioned it, the weight of it in the mouth. It's kind of rounder and smoother. It's a bit softer. It's got a little bit of peppery bite. There's some of these savoury, meaty notes as well that I quite like. And it's got this. It's more Shiraz than Syrah. It's got a bit of a warm climate feel to it. Very ripe, sweet, slightly stewed fruit, but it doesn't stray into overripeness, I think. And I think it's got a nice body and weight to it. And at this price, again, this is a wine for me. Is one I would think about buying. Also, Majestic often have these special offer deals, so I'll keep my eyes out when this is on special offer, because I think
would you say, David, that this is quite typical for, or any of you, this is quite typical for a Côtes du Rhône, or given the fact that it's more Shiraz in style, maybe not so much?
Yeah, I don't think it's massively typical. I mean, it's kind of, it's almost got a bit of Northern Rhone to it because of that dominance of the Syrah, although it's riper than most Northern Rhone Syrah. I think yes, it's still Côtes du Rhône. There's still that lovely generosity and richness to it, but there's this lovely meaty sort of slightly olive panade sort of edge to it. This makes it. I think it gives me pleasure, but it also gives me some intellectual interest as well. So I think it's something I quite like. This wine.
Yeah, I think that Shiraz as well is a bit more jammier and heavier. And I wouldn't say this is a heavy or jammy wine, even though it does have more weight to it.
Tim and I are just getting very hungry over here, thinking about having it with a lamb tagine or something.
Yeah, something meaty would be good.
It has a lot of layers of flavour for a relatively simple, inexpensive wine. I think it actually shows quite a lot. We've talked about the sweetness, but also the savouriness and the meatiness. I think
Sorry.
So Helena, what sort of personality is this wine?
Well, I was thinking about that because I always separate Shiraz and Syrah as Shakespeare versus pantomime, but both can be done really, really well, but they're just two very different styles. And so this is kind of a mixture of the two. So the Shakespearean bit is, the feast of Shakespearean proportions, a bit of grilled meat, some herbs in there, some chicken legs, you can just imagine this kind of beautiful Shakespearean feast with lots of herbs, whereas the pantomime, and it could be a pantomime at the National, a lot more jammy fruit, a little bit more slapstick sometimes, you know, more obvious, more in your face. But this is definitely more the Shakespearean character than the pantomime dame. But there's a little element in there.
Very good.
You know, one thing I would like to mention as well is that I'm using 2 different wine glasses. I don't know if you can see. So I've got like the regular ISO, and then I've got like people would use every day. And in this one, you get a lot more of the minerality, and this one here is much more of the fruitiness and the smokiness. And I think this is probably, you know, what people would use more. So just a little observation.
It looks like it's as big as your head at that angle.
No, it's not quite that big, but I do like big wine glasses. Open up.
It only has 2 glasses of wine a night. The thing is,
double fisting, you guys. I've got to try everything to make sure, you know.
I told you, but don't use that expression in England. Americans use all the time. No.
You know, Americans, we like to go big. Go big or go home.
Okay. All right.
So bringing the discussion back to wine a little bit. Anyway. Denise, your point's very good about wine glasses changing the perception of wine, and I think we need to remember this, is that often a lot of what we experience about wine is the stuff around the wine. It's not just the liquid in the glass. So the circumstances, the company, the expectations we have, and the glassware, and all these things are things that change the way we appreciate and enjoy wine, and it's very significant. And I think that's a very healthy way to look at wine. Is that really that a lot of it is not just to do with the glass, and that we bring something quite important to the wine tasting experience. And this is one of the reasons why it's good to learn a bit about wine, because I think that knowledge increases enjoyment. The more you know about the wine, it's like food. The more you know about the food you're eating, the background, where it's come from, the more you're going to enjoy it. And so I think knowing a little bit about wine is often really good, because it puts the wine in its place. And putting wine in context is fantastic, because wine really does connection with a place and a time. So it's the vintage, but also the place the wine's come from. And as you drink this wine, even if it's a rather rainy, glum sort of February evening in London, there's a connection here with us and 2012 in a beautiful place. So that's pretty cool. So I think we should move on to wine number 3. And we're stepping up a tiny bit here. From Berry Brothers and Blood. And this is the main Arno Schoen. A blend again. And this time we've got mostly Grenache, 60%, and 20% Syrah, and also 20% Sanso. Now, Sanso, I think, is a really interesting grape variety because it does really well in warm climates. It's a grape variety that isn't very highly regarded, but it works so well with blends. In warm climates, it keeps it fresh and keeps acidity. It works really well in partnership with other varieties. So I think what we've got here is an example of Grenache, the main proportion, along with Sanso and Syrah. So look at this.
Jamie, I have a quick question. I know that Chateauneuf du Pape, you can have 17 different varieties, red and white. For Côtes du Rhône, how many varieties can you use in the blend?
That's a brilliant question. I think there are certain approved varieties. I think it's probably as many as Chateauneuf du Pape. I'm not sure. I've got one of my researchers busy on the case right now. We'll bring you.
Okay, but
come on, Alex, quickly. You're making me feel like an amateur here.
I'm not trying to be a ringer.
You know the answer to these.
I don't know the answer.
Any question? Right. Yeah. Oh, this wine actually. This is grown with in a special sort of way called biodynamics. So it's a supercharged form of organics. Organics obviously is concentrating on the soil, not using synthetic pesticides and fertilizers and herbicides. Well, biodynamics is kind of like taking organics, but taking it kind of a step further, using special preparations, and really trying to encourage the soil microbial diversity to work really well. So see if this form of farming has had an influence on the wine.
I think the whole sort of bunkum of biodynamics aside, this is a lovely wine. And I'm really not buying biodynamics at all, but this is a cracking wine. And it's bloody and inky and full, and it's got like black cherry to it and good spice. And it's got some alcohol as well. You can really feel the power of the alcohol. And that's why I quite like it, I think.
Quite cherry chocolate. Sorry, go on. Mm-hmm.
I was going to agree there. I absolutely love this one. It's really generous. It's pushing out lots of very friendly fruit flavors. It's long. I think it's fantastic value at $12.25. You're getting a really moving into more what fine wine can offer. And I would never have thought that this was a standard AC Côtes du Rhône. It's got lots going on in there.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's much more of a voluptuous wine than we've had so far, but there's so much going on. It's so much riper fruit, really nice tannins, some lovely spice, lots of pepper. I think it's drinking really well, and I wouldn't be able to tell it was biodynamic, I don't think.
It feels like it's pretty serious. It's a serious one, I think.
I think it's all I'd say is I could probably do that in my glass for about half an hour before I drink it again, just because I think it does have plenty going on in there. It's just the tannin's just that little bit too tacky right at the start, but that usually happens in these kinds of wines. So I'm going to go at the wine for that. I'm just saying it's my own fault for not knowing which order they were going to come in. So, well, no, I thought, well, again, lovely flavours, and someone mentioned about the length of the finish, absolutely spot on. Really, really nice finish to it.
I really like the fruit on this, on the nose and on the palate, but I also got initially a lot of like aniseed and licorice when it first opened up, or when I first poured it. I do think it has some depth and intensity to it, and I actually like biodynamic wines a lot. So I think you can see it in here. It's quite intense, this wine. It's got a nice sort of linearity to it as well.
It has. It's not a yeastiness, but there is something, and I'll probably sound like a complete idiot now, but do we know if there's any element of carbonic maceration that's been used? Because I don't find it that tannic. I actually find it really juicy, and it's got that sort of element, very small element of that.
It doesn't seem bubbly enough to be carbonic maceration. You know how carbonic maceration has that sort of slight fizziness to it, and I don't think it does. I wouldn't think it does.
Not entirely, but I just wondered if in parts. But I know. I'll look into it.
I think it's lovely and juicy, but it's still very elegant in its style. I think it's not too kind of boom in your face fruit, but at the same time it does offer really ripe character, which is lovely.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one because I think it's got deepness. It's got this sweet, attractive, voluptuous. It's also got this slightly aggressive, not in a bad way, but slightly aggressive, muscly, tattoo sort of side to it as well. So it's like a cute girl with big tattoos. You know, it's like.
It's a nice analogy.
No, it's just because it draws you in. And it tries to, but then don't get too trendy because it's got the edges as well. You know, it's got the spiciness, the undergrowth. The pepper, you definitely have got some friendly licorice aniseed there as well. There's a lot going on there, and I think this is a robust wine. It's not a shy wine, but it just delivers a lot of pleasure, and I think it's a massively food-friendly wine as well.
I get the alcohol as well. Somebody said that you can taste it, that it's quite high in alcohol. I think you can. I don't think it's out of balance, but you do get the warmth of it. So.
Yeah, but it's not alcoholic on the nose, though, which is nice, because sometimes, the high alcohol just really hits you in the face and makes it unenjoyable.
Well, I think, as you said, it's balanced on the finish, isn't it? I mean, it's warming, and it's the kind of drink you'd love to have, and, well, on a day like today, and then at least, yeah, very balanced.
I think what would be interesting as well is if you're is the test of these wines. Which one do you finish first? Assuming you're going to drink these at night in the next few nights, and now you've opened them all. I guess the real question would be which one gets drained first, and that's, I think, the most honest virtues of a wine. Often I like it at a wine dinner where you've got wine professionals, and they do all their little scoring and rating and everything, but then leave the bottles on the table and see what people reach for. That's the ultimate endorsement of wines. What gets drunk?
I think for me, this last wine is the one that would probably finish last, not because it's necessarily worse than any other one, but because it's more interesting. So I think I probably would want it after my food so I could enjoy it kind of independently, rather than to have it for food.
I don't know what it is. It's Jack from Tasting Britain, right?
Yep.
Hey, I was just going to say, it'd be interesting from your point of view, because obviously, as you go through, you're kind of probably thinking about the kind of food you'd be having with it all the way. So as we're talking about which wine you're going to have first and which wine you have last, I guess it's about, what's in your fridge at the minute, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, for me, I try to reserve my opinion, so I don't. I know it's a very subjective thing, but I don't feel myself as expert as many of our esteemed co-tasters here. So, yeah, I try to do a couple of tastings in a row. I'll try something and come back to it. So my first impression will change. I'll have this wine once, and then I'll try it again, hopefully in the same glass, but maybe like an hour or so later. And aside from letting the wine air a little bit, it seems that my perspective of it changes. So. Yeah, I'm enjoying it all so far. I haven't found one that I have not liked.
I think that this is a real food wine, in my opinion. That you can definitely imagine, sinking your teeth into a nice big steak or something, quite substantial for me. So for me, it's definitely something I would have with a meal. I would prefer to have it with a meal than to have it on its own.
Excellent. Right. I think it's time for us to move up the Rhone, well, I guess, up the Rhone, up to Northern Rhone and Domaine Georges Brunet. I think they're based in Condrieu. I'm not sure. Let me see. Does it say? Yes, they're based in Condrieu. They make Condrieu is an appellation for Vouvray, which is a white grape variety. But they also make Syrah. This is a Côtes du Rhône Syrah. So this would be quite different, I think. And this is 12.5% alcohol. The last wine was 14%. So we're moving to a cooler climate, different soils, and the Syrah grape variety.
Is it 100% Syrah?
This is 100% Syrah, yeah.
And this, for me, that has the classiest label of all the 6 bottles, I think.
For goodness, I've gone to the wrong one, haven't I?
Oh, is this the you?
What's the order? Sorry, let me see.
Yeah, I've got the wine.
Oh, you're in the Claude Caillou. Sorry, my bottle's in the wrong order. So we're not going to the Northern Rhone. We're going to go to Bouvet de Caillou and Claude du Caillou. I'm going to get sacked. I'm going to get taken away from the studio. So actually, we're staying in the Southern Rhone. And we're not going down to 12.5% alcohol, we're going up to 15%.
Holy moly!
Yes. So this is
right?
a really highly regarded producer who makes Chateauneuf du Pape and Côtes du Rhône. And I've always enjoyed their Côtes du Rhône a great deal in the past because their Chateauneuf's beautiful, but it's really expensive. And this is £16.75 aged 2 van. And varieties. So this is 90% Grenache, 5% Syrah, 3% Mourvedre, 2% Counoise. And
Say that again.
so the rice again, 90% Grenache, 5% Syrah, 3% Mourvedre, 2% Counoise. And the vines were planted 64 years ago. So these are old vines. And the interesting thing about old vines is that as the vines get older, they produce they get bigger, the tanks get bigger. They produce smaller quantities of grape, and they produce bunches that have that just tend to have smaller berries. And so when you make the wine, you often get more intensity, more concentration, and the vines are more naturally in balance. So they're less, and they're just a happy place. And no one knows exactly why the vines are the wine. It's suspected to be because just the vine gets better balance, less, but what it produces is more intense and concentrated. So here you're drinking these wonderful old vines, and yeah, let's see what it's like.
Very pretty.
This, taking your girl with the tattoos analogy before, this seems incredibly elegant, really delicate. But then with that alcohol, it kind of knocks you off. The dominatrix, I think.
Yeah, I think elegance, the word on this wine. It's quite savoury on the nose, but on the palate it's sort of sweet and ultra approachable and pleasing. I sort of preferred the slightly more unexpected profile that was in the previous wine, but this is a classy wine. But elegance is the word, I think, on that one.
Well, I think so, but for me it seems to kind of be a bit short. It's actually nice, but then it just sort of gets a bit hollow in the middle for me, and I just don't think it's as substantial or full of wine as the one before. Kind of seems to not compare as well as to the previous one, for me anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
The size of front teeth that I have, unfortunately, I have to be very concerned about tannin and early doors, you know. But I think for me that one, compared to the other ones, actually, I think that's probably the most settled straight out the bottle. I completely agree. I just think it's very, very elegant. I understand what you're saying about the finish, and I do agree with that as well. But in terms of the actual drinking, I know what you said about the last one. It's definitely food friendly. This is food friendly as well. But you can definitely sit there and drink it on its top as well.
I think the nose is wonderful. I could sit smelling this all night. I just think it's really pretty, almost potpourri style, but with a bit of fruit, lots of red wine. And it's pretty good on the palate as well.
They're so different, all of them.
Yeah, really different.
It's no wonder that people find wine complicated when this is one region. But that's what's so fascinating about it, obviously.
That's the last minute.
I think this is a fabulous one. I love it. Because you need this captures Grenache, 90% Grenache, and it captures. It's got some warmth, it's got some alcohol, but then Grenache does tend to push down a lot of it because it's just too much sugar. This wine, I think, it kind of captures that anything that Grenache can have. People call it the Pinot Noir of the South, and it's a warm climate wine that doesn't have lots of colour. This is not a deeply coloured wine, but what it does have is amazing mouthfeel. And I've had got the potpourri character. It's got slight peppery, herby character with some floral notes. I'm not a massive fan of alcohol wines, but this is an example of a wine of 15% that I really like to drink. Normally, if I see 15% on that label of a wine, I'll do well.
For me, though, on the finish, it seems quite hot. Like my mouth is still burning. I think there's a lot of alcohol in there.
Yeah.
That's not such a bad thing. It's not such a bad thing.
You never know.
It depends on what kind of night you're planning.
I think I'd like to let this one breathe for about half an hour or so and then really try it again. I think it just needs to soften up a little.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we've already got different in the last 5 minutes, right? So.
Would everyone think it was from France if you didn't know?
Oh, don't worry, they tell you. Okay.
I wonder.
I wouldn't know. I think it'd probably be something from Australia because it's so alcoholic.
But it does have the elegance, though. I think, I don't know. It's just random musing of mine. But
as you can see, this is not one of my favorites.
I think this might be the one that me and Tim had finished first. Yeah.
Yeah, that alcohol just does tip it over the balance really later on, doesn't it? It starts off so elegant, but then it is quite hot at the end, which is a bit of a shame, really. I think.
Yeah, because it starts out really nicely, but then it just sort of, for me anyway, just falls apart.
Like a minty kind of thing.
Yeah, true. That's what I like. And that's the roasting.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts? No? That's...
Did we lose Jimmy?
Sorry?
Oh, there you are.
what would everyone eat with it?
I was just going to ask that.
Roast lamb.
Yeah. Roast lamb, nice and minty.
Oh no, sorry.
Somebody's got a Skype. Hope it's not me.
That's me. That's my husband trying to do something.
Hello, you've been Skype.
Last weekend.
No, my husband is. This is one of our joint computers on the laptop downstairs. Sorry.
It's Valentine's week.
No, I think that's a really interesting one because this is the first one that I think we've seen a real division of preferences. The pushing point here has been the alcohol level. I think you do notice it. You notice the warmth in the mouth, and also on the nose, the alcohol as well. But it's a paradoxical wine because it's got the alcohol, but it's also got real elegance. And it's a very pretty wine. So it's a wine that leaves me a little bit confused, but I do like it a lot.
I think it's fascinating both sides. It is pretty, but it is still quite bold. So.
Quite good. Elegant, pretty, unassuming, then get you drunk, and who knows what.
Right.
That was great.
Okay, now I think we're going to move to the Syrah. The Georges Vernet Centre Gut 2012. What a lovely label. That's a beautiful label, isn't it? Nice label.
Okay, simple and elegant.
Label design matters a lot to me. I think it often influences whether I like wine before I taste it. And they've got this wine.
That smells beautiful. This smells like quintessential.
Is this the Syrah?
Yes.
Darker in colour as well. If you look at the.
Amazing. I should say this wine is
beautiful. Got some pepper, something medicinal on the nose.
Yeah, the nose is totally different. It's almost like rubber, volatiles coming through. It's a completely different style of wine from the other.
Anyone getting wood smoke? There's something really smoky and lovely about that.
It's that grilled meat thing, it's the herbal thing, it's the violet thing.
Yeah.
I think I'm getting a lot of herbal notes on this, for sure.
Yeah.
Gamey, maybe?
Yeah, I'm getting more animal, kind of like leathery kind of stuff on this.
Alright, you're not helping. They're thinking together right now.
Maybe leather and spice on the end.
When you
It's a real contrast with the previous wine, which we described as a pretty, elegant potpourri. This is much more masculine with sterner kind of flavor.
Mm. Yeah, this is the Shakespearean feast I was talking about. You know, garrigue, grilled meat, leathery.
It's Macbeth. Bloody hope not. I didn't take days after that.
That alcohol is much more integrated here, isn't it? It's lower. It's only 12.5%, and it's got some real integration with the tannins, and with the fruit, and with the alcohol. And I think that really works very nicely.
Yeah, this is a much more elegant wine, to be honest. It's really nice in the mouth. It's got some nice fruit in there, but it's still got that garrigue, the herbs. And it does have some fruit finish. We get some like dark fruit to the end.
Sorry, Jamie, did you say how much this was and where it was from? I know.
Another Berry Brothers wine, and it's 19.95, so it's 20 quid. But I think it's worth it. This is
From where?
Berry Brothers.
Very.
For me, this captures Northern Rhone syrup beautifully. I tried this blind. I'm sure I would pick it as Northern Rhone syrup. And there's not many wines that say that about that. I wouldn't say I'm the world's greatest wine. I'm not the best. But this wine, and blind is hugely difficult when you know lots about wine, because there's so many options to choose from. But this wine just captures what I love about Northern Rhone syrup. It has some sweetness. This is sweet black cherry, blackberry fruits that is enticing and delicious. But it complements that with flavours that just really mesh well with that background sweet. We've got black pepper, olive, we've got that garrigue, herby character. Just fabulous, I think. And there's floral on the edge as well. So this is for me, yes, syrup. And I really love it. And it works well. In some ways, it has a slight alliance with really good Pinot Noir, because Pinot Noir has the same aromatic purity and the same texture. It's a big wine, rich, but it's not too big. And I think that lovely flavouring with all these different flavours and this core of sweet fruit is what makes it work for me.
I'd like, as a caveat, I am a big fan of this, but in terms of the finish, it's got a very two-tone finish to it. It kind of, the start of the finish is as big as the wine is in your mouth, obviously, and then all of a sudden it just goes one foot down to a sort of different, like a much more simple level, you know? Not that that's a bad thing, it's still a very lovely finish, but it really does have that kind of two-tone to it.
Interestingly, when I first got into wine, I really didn't like this wine at all. I love the Australian style much more. And the Northern Rhone, more of the savoury character of this wine is cooking off. Now it's kind of like steak and cheese. I've grown to like it. And I think that's for me the wine. I wouldn't necessarily say it's token novices. Because I think it's got edges, like grapes. But I think it's a wine style you kind of grow to love.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely.
Very smooth. It's your mouth in a really nice way, I think.
Oh, I love it. It's just, as you say, it's a typical syrup from the Northern Rhone. There aren't many places this could be from.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's got really nice length and complexity in there, and you've got that fruit. It does have a really long finish. It just seems to go on for me, and I think it is very typical. It's a very nice wine. I'm enjoying it very much.
Thumbs up.
It's really opening up in the glass.
Have we got any comments from the quieter members of the group who've not really been piping in much over the last 5 minutes? Charlie?
We're enjoying it. That's part of it. But what was interesting about the comparison between this one and the previous one, the previous one for me was very Charlotte, Sex and the City, pretty, lightly elegant, and pretty being the part of it, kind of princessy almost. This is more a man in a suit. This has got a little bit more masculinity about it, whereas the other one's a little bit more girly.
And Shin, any comments?
I quite like this one. I do agree that it is quite masculine, but I think, yeah, it's a wine to kind of get to grips with. Maybe we'd probably open it up a little while earlier than we did, which is not that long ago. So I think it needs kind of room to breathe.
Yeah, I would say one thing actually about serving wines and preparing wines, opening them up before. I'm quite a fan of decanting wines, because even if it's not a massively serious wine, often the act of pouring a wine into a decanter is a wonderful piece of theatre, and it increases your anticipation. And when you bring a wine to the table in a decanter as opposed to in a bottle, I think it's just the act of treating that wine differently often raises people's expectations about the wine. But also, I think sometimes decanting a wine does improve the wine. And I think it's often a good thing to have, you don't need to have expensive decanters, but just jugs that take quality wine. It's I think quite like this scientific, those scientific vessels, scientific laboratory, you can get them quite cheaply on eBay. They're brilliant decanters because there's novelty value as well. So I think it's often worth decanting wines. On the off chance it might improve the wine, even if it doesn't improve the wine.
Jamie, I agree with that entirely. I love to use decanter. It's nice to find yourself a really great decanter that you can enjoy for its own right. I've got a beautiful 19th century crystal decanter which I use for my best wines, but so it's nice to have just a plain hand-blown glass one. And as you say, if you get the wine with a kind of reverence or respect, it really sets you up to enjoy it all the more. And another thing I find is don't be frightened to really give quite long decanting time sometimes, especially if the wine got very solid structure and a bit too young maybe. You can give it several hours and just open it out a bit. It's true.
I don't know if you can see this one here. It looks like just a big wine glass, but the biggest diameter is at 75 centilitre. I picked this up in Bordeaux, but I've never seen one in the UK. But effectively, this is what they use for young wine. And as your man was saying just before, like you stick something like anything from 2010 onwards, one you're expecting to be a bit on the fat side, you stick it in there for about 4 or 5 hours beforehand, and it just changes it completely. In terms of settling down the tannins, you know. You don't drink out of it though. You stick it in another glass, all right?
Oh no, I was getting really excited about that.
Well, it's the same size as my head as well.
Someone should inform someone here.
You've got a 75 centimetre frame.
If anybody sees them, then let us know, because I use this daily, you know. Well, not daily. I couldn't say that. Your mum might be watching. You know, so.
Nightly, not daily.
What was in it last night?
Huh?
What was in it last night if you use it daily? What did you have last night?
Well, no, it's clearly not been used last night because it's been washed. So.
Well, I'll be enjoying this well into the night.
It's interesting the fact that we just opened 6 bottles, and I suspect most of us won't get through all 6 tonight. I'm sort of hoping most of the would have trouble with the conflicts between the 2 people, so 3 people maybe. So what's interesting, coming back to look at wines the next day, and maybe the day after, and often when I open samples, I'll stick them on the side and I'll taste them, I'll write my notes, but then I'll look at them the next day, and it's not an accurate reflection of how the wine will progress with age. But often it gives you a good idea of whether this is a serious wine or not, because often the serious wines tend to kind of almost improve sometimes overnight. You look good the next day, and sometimes the less serious wines, you lose something. with that extra day. In terms of preserving red wines, I don't do anything. I just put the cork back and leave them quite cool. And I think that's probably the best way. The wine preservation systems I've come across don't seem to add anything to the wine. Just putting the cork back in, leaving it somewhere cool is often the best way to have a good experience of wine the next day.
One thing I started doing, if you've got like a nice full-bodied wine, which obviously we've got a fair few to pick this evening, is, and I'm sure a lot of you do it, but in terms of using ice cube trays, so like using it for stocks and things like that, so if it's just on the turn, stick it in an ice cube tray, stick it in, and then, just use it for any stocks and sauces and stuff that you're going to use in the future. Make sure it's nice and full body, because that's what you're aiming for with a stock, obviously, but it's not about whether a wine's good or bad or anything. If you drink it, then you'll eat it. Do you know what I mean? And if you'll eat it, then you should drink it as well. So rubbish to all this thing about buying these table wines to stick in your soups. Forget that.
I've never heard of that. I'm quite interested to try it out now.
No, I was to say, the only thing is, if you're making like ice pops for your nieces and nephews, just remember which tray you've put it in. That's all I say.
Right. Back to wine. Back to the wine, not serving ice lolly wines to children.
I don't. Let's put that out. Right? Although it does shut them up.
Yes.
And they always eat their sponge.
This is the next wine, and this is interesting. This is a very famous estate. Well, it's not the estate wine, it's from Beaucastel, which is one of the top Chateauneuf producer. And this comes from a separate 30-hectare estate, a good-sized vineyard, on very similar soils, but outside the Chateauneuf appellation. And so it's a Côtes du Rhône, it's a blend. And the distinctive thing about this one is that there's 30% Mourvèdre in the blend. Now, Mourvèdre is one of the Côtes du Rhône varieties. It really needs lots of warmth to get properly ripe. It's one of the ones that are later ripening varieties. And it's very distinctive characteristics. Beaucastel is famous for having a high proportion of Mourvèdre in their wines. So the exact breakdown of the varieties, obviously with technical sheets here, is 40% Grenache, 30% Mourvèdre, 20% Syrah, and 10% Cinsault. And in alcohol terms, we are looking at 14%. So let's see what this is like.
What was that? Mourvèdre something and Sansa.
So we had Grenache 40, Mourvèdre 30, Syrah 20.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks.
This was a very interesting wine. Yeah, on the nose, it was really medicinal, almost slightly breathy at the beginning, but then it kind of burned off or floated away or whatever you want. And then all of a sudden, you're getting more sort of the fruit flowers, violets, raspberry. Yeah, I really like. I mean, initially, I didn't. The nose was quite powerful, but now it's kind of evolved. It's becoming warmer and softer. In my big glass, anyway.
No, you're right. That Brent does blow up quickly a bit.
It's got a massive mouth on it. I mean, in a good way. I mean, I've just been really chuffed with that one. Big in the mouth, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't think it from the nose, but it suddenly comes out of nowhere.
It is a powerful wine. It's got some lovely, elegant sort of herbaceous notes to it, but it's got that power and probably less alcohol than I was expecting. But it's got backbone, but it's got subtlety and it really dances. It's a lovely wine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's the alcohol on this? 15%?
14.
14, yeah.
14. All right. Yeah, no, I think it's a very nice one. Yeah, it's drinking really well. It's got a nice body to it. It's not too powerful. You know, it's still got some nice balance in there.
I'd love to know some people's opinions on in terms of aging some of these. They're such big wines. There's such a lot of tannin in a lot of them, and plenty of flavour.
I think aging is really interesting because this one is very comparable with the Clos du Caillou we had, which we were describing as potpourri. I think this one's got a more solid structure to it, and to that extent, it would be lovely to come back to it in a year or 2 or 3 or 4 time and see where it might go with that. But it's a beautiful wine with a lot of complexities, but it is approachable now.
No, absolutely. It's a funny one, isn't it? Because you think about when you lager wines down, you don't tend to think about a sort of. I suppose that's exactly why we're doing this thing tonight, really. But the generic, I suppose, sort of their own appellation. You never think about putting one of those down for it. But this is 2 or 3 of these. I thought, give it 3 to 5 years, it'd be fantastic. I mean, not that they aren't, but could be very different.
One thing that's come out this evening. Now we've tasted all 6 of the wines. It's what fantastic value there. Even the £6 was a good value for £6. But this Perrin, £16.63. It's more than most people would want to spend. But it's terrific value at the price. For a special occasion. I'd love it on my birthday.
This really highlights that Côtes du Rhône wines are properly food wines, aren't they? I think if you were to sink a whole bottle of this without eating anything, you'd be in trouble. You wouldn't be able to speak. But it's doing a tasting like this makes you realise exactly when and where you should be.
It's funny you should say that because you're all looking very beautiful right now. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I think the variety of wines as well has shown that actually there is tremendous variety amongst there, particularly with the blends, and they can match with so many different foods.
And again, with somewhere like the South, in terms of the food and the drink culture, the Italian, North African, Spanish influences around there, you can, you've got a world of things to pair these kind of wines with. It's brilliant, really good.
So this Coudelet, I think is a beautiful wine. It's really good. And I think Mourvedre shows through on this wine. So Mourvedre often has this nice spicy character. And it's just a gritty, spicy character. And I think it's really clear in this wine. The sweet fruit it's nice and balanced, good concentration. But then there's this really fruity element. I think quite something to be better. I think it's nice to have this one. For me, really what comes down to that it's ripeness, but also lovely savoury spiciness as well. So it covers a spectrum of flavour. And this is amazingly good quality, and it's delicious on its own as well.
The thing I really like about this last wine is that it's very confident, but it's quietly confident. It kind of, I don't know how to kind of describe it, but it just sits there. It knows that it's the real deal, that it's kind of complex and elegant, but it does not too showy offy. It doesn't say, "Oh, look at me, look at me." It's just it sits there in its own confidence.
Cumberbatch of wine.
There you go.
What?
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yes.
Jamie, what's been your favourite wine of the evening?
Good question. I've been writing some notes and giving them little scores. I know scoring is a horrible thing. I have to do it as a wine journalist. For me, I think I've been, and I sound like a Côtes du Rhône stooge now, if I say this, but I think the wines are all really good. I've enjoyed them all. My favourite is a kind of tie between the Côtes du Rhône and the Santa Garde from Bernay, which I think both show beautifully two of the major places Côtes du Rhône. Grenache-based wine shows Grenache kind of optimum. And I think the Santa Garde is my compliment. People ask me what my favourite wine is. It's an impossible question because I'm a wine journalist and I love lots of different sorts of wines. But I need to give you an answer, so I say Northern Rhone Syrah. And this, to me, captures Northern Rhone Syrah really well. So I think those two are my favourite. I think the Coudelet is kind of like a close runner. Really lovely wine as well. But for me, I just slightly go for the Bayou or Santa Garde. And if you ask me between the two, I'll go for the Santa Garde. I'd be very interested to hear what your favourites are, all of you. Don't be shy.
But I
what were yours again, Jamie? I couldn't quite hear you. Can you hold up the bottles, Jamie, the one that you liked?
Yeah, cool. Can you pass them? I've been distributing to my law researchers.
Because I couldn't see, I couldn't hear you. Do you have them? Is your lovely assistant?
Yes. Very good. Actually, they've not done a very good job. There's still some wine left in there. Right. On the white. I'm going to go for this first place. Me. The Santa Garde. Which captures very close to finish. The kind of place. Beautiful wine captures Grenache for me. And then in third place, the Coudelet. Coudelet is fabulous. And that's a good buy. And you can sell it. Taste of that and celery. The bottles over the next 10 years. And the wine will change. It's good now, but it will be good in 10 years. It will just be different. And I think that's fabulous. Charlie, what's your
That's my choice.
Well, I think it was because everybody chipped for their favourites. But Tim, what are you going for?
I'm going to go for the Garrigues.
I think for me it was the last one there. Big fan of that one.
I'll have a cake 50 years, please. And I'll drink one a year for 6 years.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think the last one for me. Mm-hmm. But it's tough between the last three. I really like them, and they were all so different. Pretty more masculine, and then this one confident. Well, I think I like that one the most.
Definitely. Over here, Shakespeare and Benedict. Definitely, yes. But I love the fact that they were all so different. I was hoping they would be, and it just shows that you just have to keep drinking. Discovering.
That's the only way you'll know. Yeah. I think for me, I really like the Chamarneau. This one was really, we had a lot of freshness to it, and I've been going back and tasting it as we've been going along, and I really, really like it. And then for me, the second one is the Santa Garde, which I thought this was a lovely wine. Really good, really like the body, very supple, great flavors, great aromas. But I also like the last one as well. That was a really good one too. So those are my three.
I thought you were going to go for all six, and I was like, that's not fair.
I really like the Garrigue, the Clos de Caillou. If this is the biodynamic one, I'm really annoyed because I just think that's a load of bunkum. I just think this is a good wine.
For me, it's the Chamarneau as well, that we're drinking now. And then the last one, we're drinking somewhere down the line.
Charlotte, do you have a favourite?
Well, I'm definitely going to try my node as well. And probably the last one is the second one. I want to give both of them a bit more time, though, and probably give them a sample tomorrow night or even Wednesday night and see what they're like.
Excellent.
Have you got a meeting tomorrow morning, have you?
No.
Well, guys, I think we're reaching a natural conclusion to our drinking. Before I go, I have 2 events, which are 9th of March, Skin Contact. This is a wine trade band. Yes, it sounds terrible, Skin Contact. A very, very good wine trade band. Elite group drawn from the ranks of the trade, working a beautiful evening, which is going to be a benefit of Red Nose Red Wine, really good charity. And if you Google Skin Contact, but in the wine trade.
Are you going to be speaking?
And the other one is on the 10th of April, this Côtes du Rhône trade. So if you're interested in that, Google that as well. Anyway, it remains for me to thank you all for your participation. I've really enjoyed taking part in Google Hangout without too many technical. I mean, it's been fabulous. We've had a technically amazing session. I think it's just one dropout, which we fixed it. And guys, I hope that you really like them. It's been great to hear your opinions on them as well. So thanks very much for your participation.
Cheers, Jamie. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Jamie.
Speak to the whites, yeah?
Yeah. Enjoy all the bottles behind you as well, yeah? I would say.
Yeah, cheers.
Yeah, thank you.
Good night.
Santé from Champagne.